I think calling Haruka and Michiru the most iconic queer couple in anime is a pretty fair statement to make. To this day, when people ask for anime recommendations with lesbian couples, Sailor Moon is always one of the first to come up, even decades after it actually aired. The whole cousins mess is probably the ultimate example of dub censorship, and they're still an incredibly popular couple to this very day. Would you believe they've never had a scripted kiss? It's weird to think about, but there hasn't ever been a written in Haruka and Michiru kiss. They never kissed in the 90s anime, and in the manga, and subsequently Crystal Season 3, Haruka kisses Usagi, but never Michiru, which is, And there's never even been any artwork where the pair has kissed or anything, not even in their Crystal ending sequence. They've never had a planned kiss. Well, sorta. Enter the Sailor Moon musicals, or Zeramiu. Personally, one of my favorite branches of the franchise, and the setting for today's story. The first musical ran during the time of Sailor Moon R, and the original run of musicals kept going until January 2005. With the brand's revival in the early 2010s came a new wave of musicals, and we've gotten one a year for the most part since. Haruka and Michiru have been a part of these musicals from almost the very start, and were especially made something of a priority during the first run. The first show, and its lost to subsequent revised versions, were an adaptation of the Dark Kingdom arc, featuring only the inner senshi because, well, guess. You'd naturally expect the second musical to be an adaptation of the Black Moon arc. This is even what the modern run of musicals did after all. But that's not what the 90s run did. Uranus and Neptune were a huge part of the series' marketing around the time of S, and the musicals wanted to capitalize on that as soon as possible. As a result, the second storyline the musicals tackled was the Infinity arc, before it was even finished. Getting Haruka and Michiru in was such a priority, the arc wasn't even finalized by the time the musical entered pre-production. Sailor Saturn, Sailor Pluto, and even Sailor Moon Super's titular Super Sailor Moon weren't even included in the first show. Saturn had to wait all the way till the Dream arc adaptation. Subsequently, in the original run, including the Outers was always a priority. Despite later going back and doing new adaptations of S and R, the Dark Kingdom arc wasn't ever touched again in the original run. And a big part of the R adaptation and its marketing was the fact that all four Outer Senshi appear in the future segments. They even got the opening number. The musicals were aimed at existing fans of the franchise, so including and using fan-favorite characters was obviously a huge priority. So this is where we got our Haruka and Michiru kiss, right? Despite clearly being aware of the Outer Senshi, Haruka and Michiru in particular's popularity, and not being afraid to run with the pair's relationship, they're notably the only senshi to never get solos, only getting duets with one another. There was never a written-in kiss for them, not even in any of the modern musicals. But there lies the key to this all. Curtain calls aren't fully scripted. To give some background, after the first musical adaptation of Sailor Stars, a show much like the initial S one, where it was written early on before a lot of the arc was finalized, it was originally presumed that it would be the last musical. The series was over after all, no need to release tie-in musicals, right? However, the musicals were still incredibly popular, and rather than ending, they just kept going. First with Ein Densetsu and its revised version, a mix of an original story and an adaptation of Stars that combined a more faithful adaptation of the arc with a lot of the elements missing in the original, and an original aspect to the storyline, Galaxia reviving Queen Beryl and the pair teaming up. Both runs of the storyline were a massive success, so once again, despite the series' fading relevancy, and also in spite of a vast majority of the cast and crew leaving after the revised version of Ein Densetsu, the musicals kept going with Shin Densetsu Korin, which was Ein Densetsu, but the minions are the Amazon Trio. This show is commonly considered one of the worst, but perhaps its biggest highlight is that it's where the first player in our story first took the stage. Nayo Takagi made her debut in the show, playing Haruka. She was one of the only actors to debut here to actually come back for the next show, let alone multiple. She ultimately became the longest running and most famous Sailor Uranus, appearing in 11 total shows. She was pretty critical of her first performance during interviews prior to the next show, Kaguya Densetsu, the first completely original story the musicals attempted. It's in the revised second run of Kaguya Island, where the other player in the story, Yuka Asami, enters. After making her debut as Michiru here, Yuka and Nayo would go on to become incredibly close, apparently still keeping close contact to this day. Yuka was the perfect Michiru to Nayo's Haruka. The pair would perform together for 8 more shows, retiring together on an adaptation of the storyline that introduced their characters, in the process becoming probably the most iconic performers of the couple. Nayo said in an interview she wouldn't have wanted to keep playing Haruka if it weren't for having Yuka by her side. The pair capture their characters perfectly, even from their first show together. The revised Kaguya Island storyline had a plotline where the Senshi are all infected with the virus and unable to transform, gradually getting weaker and sicker as a result. One of, if not the best scenes, and an overall pretty great show, has Haruka and Michiru having a quiet moment of vulnerability with one another, realizing they're both incredibly sick, but not wanting the others to see, wanting to stay strong for the sake of the younger girls. They resolve to keep going on and try and take out the villain together before the others run in to join them. It's a great scene that captures the characters' unique relationship perfectly. It gives a lot of similar vibes to the iconic scene in The Death of Uranus and Neptune. In a way, it's incredibly fitting that the actors decided to give us the only Haruka and Michiru kiss in the franchise at the end of the show. During the last performance of each show, the actors were encouraged to ad-lib, with many fans coming to the show again just to see what they come up with. The revised Nine Densetsu is the only show to have its last day performance released in its entirety, likely because of the sheer amount of cast and crew members retiring afterwards, including the first Sailor Moon. However, many bits from these last day performances are often included on pre-order or bonus discs and the like. Back then, at the musicals, fans could pre-order a tape, DVD, or even a laser disc at points of the show they're about to see or just saw. These versions would often come with lots of bonus material, footage from fan events held prior to the shows, behind-the-scenes footage, interviews, and of course, clips from the last day performance. In a pre-order disc that came with the DVD for the revised Kaguya Island musical, among other things, we get to see the last day performance's curtain call. When called on stage, Nayo and Yuka, both dressed in their characters' Senshi outfits, run on stage and share a quick kiss before waving to a loudly cheering audience. As I mentioned, this was Yuka's first show as Michiru, and Nayo Yuka's first show as a pair. During the normal curtain call, the pair just comes on stage and waves, as seen in the standard DVD and VHS versions of the show, and subsequently the subbed versions you'll find online. This wasn't scripted, nor was it planned by anyone except probably just the two actresses themselves. They wanted to give the fans a gift, and by God they did. It's only because of their likely-in-the-moment decision, and its subsequent inclusion in an obscure pre-order DVD, that we've even seen these two characters kiss in any official Sailor Moon media. For the longest time, I'd only seen this moment in GIF form, and it intrigued me, especially when I realized it was from Kaguya Island, but not in the normal recording I watched. Recently, while digging through some discs of old fansubs made probably before I could even talk that I ordered from a site that's not even up anymore, I found this clip and got way more excited than I probably should have. It's something that just makes me happy because it exists. Because of these two actresses' decision to give the fans something special at the end of their first show together's run, we have a kiss between two of the most iconic queer characters in anime, probably in media in general, honestly. This was also in 1999. A year before the dub's infamous attempt at hiding their relationship, the pair had shared a kiss live on stage, an act met with clear excitement from the fans present. In so much of the bonus material for Nine Densetsu and the Kaguya Island musicals, the cast and crew repeatedly talk about how grateful they are that the fans kept the shows going. At this point, they were the only thing doing so. This was a moment of love for the fans, and these characters, and I think that's pretty cool.
セラ戦士ウラノスとネプチューンはなおに言うか
If you're still here, thank you for watching this video on a really weird topic I just felt like rambling about. I plan on trying to get the fan subs of the musical bonus material I mentioned or used in this video up as soon as possible. My computer kind of sucks at ripping discs. You can find some of them now, actually. I doubt anyone involved is watching, but to anyone from Cruel Angel Productions who may somehow see this, And thank you for your work bringing so much material from these musicals to an audience who never get to properly experience them otherwise. On that note, any subs of the actual shows used in this video are from the amazing folks at Sea of Serenity. I really can't thank them enough for both giving me permission to use their subs in this video, and for all the work they do subbing these musicals and letting people experience this amazing part of Sailor Moon. You all are amazing.